Time does not work the way you think it does. I need you to understand that before anything else I say, because it is the first thing that hit me when I died. Not the light, not the tunnel, the time. I was on a mountain in a place I cannot name, and I looked up and I understood that everything I had ever believed about time was wrong. It felt like I had been gone for years, maybe decades. I looked at my hands and I expected them to be old, weathered, decomposed. And then I came back, and I opened my eyes in a field hospital, and my team was standing over me, and they said 47 seconds had passed. 47 seconds. I am going to tell you what I saw in those 47 seconds. Not all of it. Some of it I still do not have words for. Some of it I am not sure I am allowed to share. But there are 3 things God showed me about what is coming to this country between April and June of this year, and I have been carrying them for months now, and I finally understand why He let me come back to say this. My name is not important. What matters is that I was a Navy SEAL for 22 years. I deployed 9 times. I have seen men die. I have come close to dying more times than I can count. And nothing in all those years of training and combat prepared me for what happened on that mountain when my heart stopped. I was not afraid. That is the first thing I want you to know. In those 47 seconds, I was not afraid. And I had been afraid every single day of my life since I was 19 years old. The fear just fell away, like a coat you take off at the door. Do not wait. Do not leave this video. I need you to hear this because what is coming is not something you want to be unprepared for. I was leading a team on a reconnaissance operation. I will not say where or when exactly, but I can tell you it was cold and it was dark and something went wrong very fast. An IED, the kind that does not kill you right away, but leaves you long enough to know what is happening. I remember the sound. I remember the ground beneath me. I remember looking up at the sky and thinking, this is it. And then I was somewhere else. Not heaven, not yet. I want to be careful with words here because what I experienced does not fit neatly into any doctrine I was raised with. I was raised Catholic. My grandmother took me to Mass every Sunday until I left for the Navy. But what I saw was not the heaven I was taught about in catechism. It was more like a threshold, a waiting room, if you can call it that, except it was the most beautiful place I have ever been, before or since. There was a light, but it was not like the light people describe in typical near-death accounts. It was not a white tunnel or a warm glow. It was more like the light was the place itself, and I was inside it, and it was inside me. I was not looking at something separate from myself. I was part of it. And then I heard a voice. Not a voice the way you hear me speaking to you now. A voice that arrived inside my mind fully formed, like knowledge being placed there, except it also had the texture of love. That is the only way I can describe it. Love with a sound. He told me his name, but I do not think it was a name the way we use names. It was more like a description of what he is. I will say God, because that is the closest word we have, but understand that when I say God, I mean something so far beyond what that word points to in our daily language that it is almost a disservice to use it. God showed me 3 things. The first thing he showed me was a grid of light stretching across the eastern seaboard. I could see it from above, like looking down from a satellite, except I was not looking with eyes. I was seeing it the way you see a memory, except it was not my memory. It was a future I had not lived yet. The lights were going out. Not all at once, the way a blackout happens when a grid fails, wave by wave, city by city, from north to south. And as I watched, I felt the weight of what that meant. Not the inconvenience of a power outage, the unraveling. Hospitals on backup power with patients whose machines start to fail. Traffic signals dark in major intersections. People trapped in elevators and subway tunnels. And then the secondary failures, the ones that come after, when the systems that depend on electricity start to collapse, and the water stops flowing, and the phones die, and the banks freeze, and people realize that the modern world is a very thin shell over a very fragile structure. The first blackout would last 3 days, God told me. The first one. There would be more. I tried to ask questions. In my mind, I said, why? Who? How do I stop this? And the answer I got was not a sentence. It was more like a feeling that settled into me, heavy and clear. This was not punishment. This was a warning. A warning that the systems we have built our lives on are not as solid as we believe, and that we need to remember how to survive without them. The second thing God showed me was fire. Not a single building burning, not a wildfire spreading across a forest. I saw the word I was given for it in that place was financial, but what I saw with my own eyes was something that looked like fire eating through paper. Except the paper was the economy. The paper was the value of money. The paper was everything we have been told our lives are built on. I saw numbers on screens collapsing, not the kind of drop you see in a normal market correction, where things go down and then recover in a few weeks. I saw numbers going to zero. I saw people standing in lines outside banks that had already locked their doors. I saw food distribution systems breaking down because the trucks stopped running, not because there was no food, but because the system that moved the food could not function without the money flowing, and the money had stopped flowing. I need to be very clear about something here. I am not an economist. I am not a financial expert. I was a Navy SEAL. I was trained to understand threats and act under pressure. But what I saw was not technical. It was visual. It was emotional. It was the texture of panic spreading across a continent like a disease. The third thing was the hardest to understand, and it is the thing I have struggled with the most since I came back. I saw people. Thousands of people, maybe more, gathered in places that were not stadiums or arenas or churches. They were outdoors, fields, parking lots, public squares. They were not there because someone had organized them. They were there because something inside them had broken open, and they were looking for each other, looking for connection, looking for meaning in a world where the things they had trusted had just dissolved in front of them. And God told me, or I understood, or the knowledge was placed in me, that this was the harvest. This was what all of it was for, not the destruction, the breaking open, the moment when the shell of the modern world cracks, and what comes out is not chaos, but something that has been waiting underneath all along. The part of us that knows how to be human together, without the scaffolding. I did not understand it then. I wept, not from fear, from something I can only call relief. A relief that felt like the weight of the entire world lifting off my chest. And then God showed me something I was not expecting. He showed me what was coming between April and June. Specific months, specific events. 3 events. 3. The first is what I described to you, the blackout, the grid failure. It begins in April, in the Northeast, and it spreads. 3 days of darkness that will feel like a lifetime to the people living through it. If you are watching this before it happens, and I believe you are, then you need to know that this is not a drill. This is not a test. It is real, and it is coming. The second is the economic collapse I described. It follows within weeks. Not the same day, not the same week. The sequence matters. The blackout is the tremor. The economic failure is the earthquake. They are connected, and they are coming, and the gap between them will be when the real damage happens, when people stop believing that things will go back to the way they were. The third is the gathering, and this one, God told me, is the one that matters most. Not because of what happens during the gathering, because of what comes after. The third event between April and June will be when something shifts in the collective heart of this country that cannot be undone. Not the collapse, not the failure, the turning, the looking at each other and recognizing that we are not alone, that we never were, that the things that divide us are thin and the things that connect us are deep. I know how that sounds, I know, but I need you to hear it anyway. Now here is what I did not tell you yet. I did not want to come back. I was in that place, that threshold, And I understood for the first time in my life what it felt like to be completely known and completely accepted. Not the way you are known after someone gets to know you for years, the way you are known when every thought you have ever had, every action, every failure, every shame, every secret you have carried is simply present, visible. And instead of condemnation, there is only understanding, only love, only the sense that you are not being judged but held. I had spent 22 years of my life being a Navy SEAL because I was afraid, because discipline and mission and brotherhood gave me a structure that kept the fear manageable. And I walked into that light and the fear was gone, and in its place was this sense of homecoming that I cannot describe without my voice breaking, even now, months later, even talking to a camera in an empty room. I did not want to leave. But there was someone waiting for me on the other side. Not God, someone else. My son. His name was Daniel. He was 24 years old when I deployed for the last time. He was not a SEAL. He was a high school history teacher in a small town in New Mexico. He coached the freshman baseball team. He was the kind of man who remembered every student's name and every player's birthday and the name of every kid's dog. He was better than me. He was so much better than me. He had died 3 years before that mission, a heart defect that no one knew he had. He was sitting at his kitchen table grading papers, and his heart just stopped, and he was gone. I was not there when he died. I was on deployment. I did not even make it back for the funeral. I told myself it was because of the mission. The truth is, I could not face it. I could not stand at a grave and say goodbye to my son, so I stayed away, and I carried that with me every single day for 3 years, and I buried it so deep that I almost forgot it was there. Almost. When I died on that mountain, I found him, not in the place I described, in between, in a place that felt like a corridor, except the walls were made of light, and he was standing there, and he was not 24 anymore. He was not any age the way we understand age, but I knew him. I knew it was him. He did not say anything at first. He just looked at me with an expression I will never forget for as long as I live. Not anger, not sadness, something like recognition, something like relief. And then he said, "And I need you to understand that I am not making this up." He said, "Dad, it is not your time." And I said, "Danny, how can you even talk to me after what I did?" And he said, "Dad, I never blamed you. I need you to go back. There are people who need to hear what you have to say." And I told him I could not leave him again, and he put his hand on my chest, except he did not have a hand, not the way we have hands, but I felt it, and he said, "I am not going anywhere. You come back when you are ready. I will be here." And then I opened my eyes in the field hospital, and 47 seconds had passed. I have not been the same since. That was 6 months ago. I left the teams. I am not supposed to tell you this, but I do not care anymore about operational security. I left the teams, and I moved to a small place in New Mexico, near the town where my son taught, and I have been trying to figure out how to do what he asked me to do, which is tell people what I saw. The thing that makes this hard to talk about is not the vision. The thing that makes it hard is that I know how it sounds. I know. A Navy SEAL telling you that God showed him 3 events coming to America between April and June. I can hear how it sounds. I have been in classified briefings. I know what a credible threat looks like. And I am telling you that this feels more real to me than any threat assessment I have ever been part of. Here is what I want you to take away from this. Not the specific events, though I have told you what I saw. What I want you to take away is the understanding that what we are living through right now is not normal. The feeling that things are unraveling, that the systems we have built are fragile, that the world is changing in ways that do not feel right. That feeling is not paranoia. It is not anxiety. It is recognition. It is your body, your soul, your deeper knowing, telling you that something is coming that is going to change everything. And I want you to know that if you feel that, you are not alone. I felt it too, for years, and I did not have the language for it, So I buried it under mission and discipline and brotherhood and deployment. I buried it until it killed me, briefly, and I came back with a message I did not ask for. 3 events: April, May, June. Something grid-related and electrical. Something financial that will make what we saw in 2008 look like a warm-up. And something human. Something that happens when people stop pretending that the way we have been living is sustainable. The first one is coming first. I cannot tell you the exact date because I was not given one. Only the months, only the sequence. But April is coming. April is weeks away as I speak this into a microphone and hope that someone out there hears it and takes it seriously. If you are watching this, you still have time. Time to get ready. Time to tell the people you love that you love them. Time to have the conversations you have been putting off. Time to stop waiting for someone else to fix things and start understanding that the resilience you need is not out there somewhere. It is in you. It has always been in you. I know because I met it. On the other side. In 47 seconds. The part of you that knows how to be human without all the scaffolding. The part that knows how to be known completely and still stand. That part is real. It is not weakness. It is not new age nonsense. It is the thing that survives when everything else falls away. And it is what God showed me. And it is what He wants us to remember before it gets hard. This is not a threat. This is a harvest. I know that does not make it easier. But I need you to hear it the way He said it to me, which is without cruelty, without malice, with something that felt like love even though it was telling me that pain was coming. The pain is coming. But so is the other thing. My name is not important. But my son's name was Daniel, and he told me to come back and say this, and I am finally doing it. If this video finds you, if you are a person who still has time before April, before whatever is coming hits your city, your grid, your economy, your life, then I need you to do something for me. For Danny. For the people who will not make it through what is coming. For the people who will come out the other side and need to find other human beings standing there, not just survivors, but people who remembered what we are. Not because the world ended, because it cracked open and something came through that had been waiting a long time. I do not know if you will believe me. I do not know if you should. I am a Navy SEAL. We are trained to question everything, including our own commanders, including our own intelligence, including our own experience. I question this every day. I wake up and I question whether it was real, whether I imagined it, whether I am losing my mind after too many deployments and too much combat stress. But then I remember Danny's face. I remember the hand on my chest. I remember the 47 seconds that felt like a lifetime, and I know it was real. April is coming. May is coming. June is coming. Between April and June of this year, 3 things are going to happen in this country that will change everything. The first 2 are going to be hard. The third one is going to be the beginning of something that most of us have forgotten is possible. I came back because my son called me. I came back because he needed me to tell you this. And I am doing it now because I understand what he meant. Not the 3 events, the people who need to hear it. The people who are already feeling the walls close in and do not know why. You are not crazy. You are not paranoid. You are waking up. And if you are, then you are exactly who this message was meant for. I need to say one more thing, and then I am done. This is the hardest part for me. Harder than describing the vision, harder than telling you about the 3 events, harder than any of it. I have been afraid my whole life. I told you that. What I did not tell you is that I was afraid of everything. Afraid of failing, afraid of dying, afraid of living, afraid of my own son, God forgive me, because he was everything I was not, and I did not know how to carry that. I was afraid of love. I was afraid of being known. I was afraid of the thing on the other side, because I had lived so long in the dark that the light felt like it would destroy me. And it did destroy me, on that mountain, in 47 seconds. And what came back was not the man who went in. That man is gone. And what replaced him is someone who is still afraid, but who has seen what is on the other side of fear. And what is on the other side is not nothing. What is on the other side is the thing Danny was trying to tell me, that you are not alone, that you were never alone, that the fear is not the end of the story. The three events are coming: the blackout, the collapse, the gathering. And I am telling you this because Danny told me to, and because God showed me what is on the other side of the pain, and because I need you to know that this is not the end. This is the beginning of what comes after we stop pretending. Subscribe, share this video with someone you love, and if you are one of the people who is already feeling the walls close in, if you are already in the dark, if you are already living through the collapse that has not yet been named on the news, then I need you to know that you are not alone. Someone came back from the other side to tell you that, and he will see you on the other side when it is your time. Until then, take care of each other, the way Danny would have said it, the way my grandmother used to pray, and may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Whatever that means to you, however you understand it, in whatever language you use to speak to the mystery that made us and that will receive us when it is our time. I am done. I am going back to New Mexico now, to the town where my son taught, to the grave I never visited, to say the things I should have said 3 years ago. And if you are watching this, and you still have time, go say the things too, while you can, before April, before May, before June, before the three events, before it gets hard. And if it gets hard anyway, then be the person who stands in the rubble and recognizes that the person next to you is not your enemy, is not your competition, is not the problem. Be the person who remembers that we are all we have ever had, and that that is enough. That was always enough. Danny knew it. I know it now. And I am telling you because I was sent back to tell you. April, May, June. 3 events. Be ready and be kind. Those are the 2 things that matter most. The rest is just details.